raise the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, Real Truth listeners. Today I have Calvin. I think as his website says it, Coaches of Coaches. Is that kind of the tagline, Calvin?
Yeah, we can go with that one. That
works. That work? I don't know. I was looking at your Instagram, I think at your website and your Twitter. And I know the website, man, that grabs you fast. As soon as you start looking on it, it's like, all right, how can we help you? Can we get some more information? Build that funnel, right?
Yeah, totally. That's what we want to do. Yeah, no, but I mean, the truth is that I am the founder of a software company first, Simplero, right up there behind me, which is a platform for coaches, mainly coaches. Almost everybody identifies as coaches, but coaches, course creators, consultants, service-based businesses. And so all in one platform to make things simpler, which is why we called it Simplero. And then I also I think of myself as chief simplifier and spiritual teacher. Like one of my geniuses is that combination of the spiritual teacher and the logical software person. Like I can go in and pinpoint exactly what's the mindset or system shift that you need to make to grow your business and grow yourself, or like find inner freedom. Because I see a lot of entrepreneurs that may have, lots of great results, but they still feel like they're not fully there in their lives, or they don't feel free, right? They hope that if I make another million, or get another Lambo, or get another, house, or whatever it is, that then finally I'll feel like I've arrived, I'm there. And I would love for people to find that inner freedom today instead of having to wait for it in the future.
So the freedom, because simplicity, right? Freedom to
Well, the freedom because of simplicity, but also, yes, that's a huge part of it because everybody complicates their lives, right? Myself included. So we need to combat that and find the simple way. But also, I think most of us have this gnawing feeling somewhere deep inside, and it might be buried, or it might be more up at the surface, that we're somehow wrong or somehow not enough, and that we have to achieve something or get to a certain point in life in order to feel enough. And we also have that experience that we had a goal and we thought, oh, when I get that, I will finally have made it. I'm there. And then we reach that goal and then we're like, crap, like I still don't feel like I'm enough. So that's the thing that I'd love to help people switch, so that they can feel enough, they can feel free, they can feel fulfilled today without looking for results in the future to get there.
Why do you, and maybe this from the outside looking in, and maybe it's because, I have this platform, but it seems like, there's been a influx, I guess, of coaches, right? A variety of kind of coaches. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, maybe, I'm guessing because you have the business, you probably see something similar to that too, but why do you think we have so many coaches out there these days?
For a variety of reasons, right? It's a fairly new thing. It's a relatively new term, right? People started using, now they call themselves coaches, right? Where before they would call themselves counselor, a therapist, or stylist, or like whatever. So now it becomes coach for the thing. There's also the fact that it's just more and more people are realizing that if you want to achieve a certain result, it helps to find someone who's achieved it already, who can teach you how to do it. And especially someone who's helped lots of other people achieve that outcome. And now they know the path, and they not just for themselves, but they've seen how that plays out for a lot of other people. And then of course there's the whole inflation of it, right? So everybody wants to be the next, it seems like it becomes a biz op, right? It becomes a way that people think that they can make money. And so they want to get into the coaching business.
So I guess combine the last two statements, right? Where you're talking about people that have walked the road that you want to be on and make money. How many people, in your opinion, this might be tough to gauge, do you think have actually walked the road and are coaches compared to people that are just basically doing it to try to make money and really haven't walked the road?
It's hard to say, right? And ultimately, kind of the measure is not necessarily whether they have walked that path. The value is really, can they help you do it, right? So one of my mentors is Gay Hendricks, older gentleman who's written tons of books and been on Oprah many times, and he wrote the book The Big Leap, amongst others. That's his most famous. And he coached or mentored Michael Dell at Dell Computers. And it's not like he'd build a computing, a computer company, right? But he was still able to help him because he had some certain skills and tools. So it's not necessarily bad, but to answer your question of how widespread is it, I think there's definitely a ton of people who are just, Gary Vee loves to make fun of the, 20-year-old life coaches. You have to have some life experience if you're going to be a coach for people on, life coaching. But there's tons of legit people as well. I think that as people go through the hero's journey, right? We live in an ordinary world and things look great, and then something happens and we are called to an adventure, and then we refuse it, like always, right? Like, oh no, I don't. I just want to stay where I am. You go on that adventure, you find a mentor or books or whatever it is, and you meet your enemies and your challenges and the innermost cave and the dark night of the soul, all that stuff. You return and some more battles, and you come back, and now you've mastered something. And I feel like that's where most people enter into the coaching. They're like, oh shit, I figured this out, whether it's the health or the wealth or relationships or spirituality and purpose or whatever it is. Like, let me help other people do the same. And what's beautiful about it is that as you do that, it reinforces your own journey, it deepens your own journey. You get better at what you do because you help other people do it as well. And that's where they then realize, oh my God, like I call it the second hero's journey. I forget where I heard that the first time, but the idea being that, oh, I figured this thing out. Now I need to figure out the business of actually, coaching other on this stuff, which is a whole other hero's journey on its own. And most people aren't prepared for that. And it's the same thing happens. We resist the call, right? We're like, oh, I have this brilliant elixir. Everybody should want it. Like, why aren't everybody clamoring for it? Oh crap. I need to actually get serious about building a business if I want to make this a business.
Gotcha. Well, talking about kind of making your own business, let's rewind, I guess, to a young Calvin. When did this kind of pathway start for you? When did you start getting the pathway of kind of building Simplero?
Depending on how far you want to go back, I was just my mom found some old photos of me from my birthday. She cataloged every photo she had of me from my childhood, which is fantastic. And I found this really super nerdy photo of me as maybe 6-7 years old behind sitting at a PC coding. I started coding very, very young. So that naturally brought me into software. My mom actually started a software company in 1980. So I was kind of born into the world of being entrepreneurial and software. And so at first I was building software company. First it was consulting company. Then I tried to get into product, which was really hard, compared to consulting, just hire me and my team to write your software for you to and I knew I wanted to do product because it's scalable. Yeah. But then coming up with a product idea was really hard. And it led me to a journey of self-discovery and, therapy and body therapy and coaching and a spiritual teacher. And it was through that I realized that the tools that I learned in that process were what every other entrepreneur I knew needed as well. And so I was like, let me start teaching what I've learned here from my journey. So that was an exact, hero's journey leading to, let me share this with other people. And then that's where my second hero's journey kicked in. I was like, oh crap, this is hard. And one of the things that was hard about it was the software side. And so that's what led me to build Simplero, because I realized I found that you have to use 8 or 9 different platforms to run this damn business. And I was like, what if we could do it all in one platform, make it simple instead of complicate it, make it integrated instead of, scattered all over the place. And so that's what became Simplero.
So you were planning to start your own coaching business? Is that what?
Yeah.
Did you ever like follow that kind of that pathway of a coaching business, or did you kind of give that up, or do you do that on the side, or?
I did. So in the beginning, that was how I paid the bills. I was doing my own coaching programs, and then and then coding the thing on my own. And then as it grew, I let go of the coaching side of things and just focused on the software. Which, in retrospect, I would have not done that. I would have stayed with the coaching the whole time, because there's something beautiful that happens when I'm in the business of what my clients are in the business of. And so that's what I do now. I am in the coaching business again, and have been for a couple of years now. And it's what, like, I love software. I've been doing it my entire life, but my legacy is definitely on the coaching side. Like, I love, just last week we had a coaching call, and there's like someone there who was feeling, she was like, oh, I feel like I'm failing and I got all this stuff going on. I talked with her, and I realized, I helped her realize that there was a story that she was telling herself that kept her trapped, that had ties back to her childhood of feeling like she had to keep everything together for the family, and she was still playing these patterns. And that freedom that opens up when you realize, oh crap, I've been keeping myself in a prison my whole life. That's one of the most beautiful things that I know. And then what's so awesome about doing it in a group program is that her vulnerability then like immediately impacted everybody else on the call. And so then now, like, other people started opening up about some of their challenges in a much more deep and vulnerable way. And the way I see it is that all of these business problems that we think of as business problems they're really personal problems that show up in business, and they're really invitations for us to step deeper into our freedom to just be who we are. And then everything else becomes pretty easy from there.
Going back to, I guess, when you originally put coaching on hold and just kind of focused on, I guess, the coding, do you kind of recall, was it just simply overwhelming to kind of do both at the same time? Was one just doing a lot better than the other one? What kind of happened there?
It was part that overwhelm. It was also part some of my insecurities. I've like the kind of the core wound that I've always battled is the feeling of being wrong, of being like, shame is another word for it, right? Like toxic shame, like feeling, I used to feel like I was so worthless that if I was breathing the air, I was stealing it from other people who were more worthy than me. If I took up any space in the world, I was taking it from other people who are more worthy. And I had this notion that in order to prove my worth, I had to be this, massive, like billionaire, like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates level success by the age of 30, or I might as well just not exist. And so you can imagine the kind of pressure that creates. And that was like, yeah, when I turned 30, it was kind of bearable. But like by the time I hit 33, I had to like throw in the towel and realize, all right, I didn't make it. and that's when I started to get help.
So you, I guess, come to the realization that I guess you didn't make it and then got help. I mean, was kind of the biggest turning point of getting past that insecurity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was it a coach? Was it? I mean, and you don't have to speak. I mean, what kind of help was it?
No, it was a variety of things, but it's something that I think some of those core wounds are what I've experienced is that it shows up again every time I go to another level. Then there's another layer to it that shows up. So it kind of becomes, a familiar companion. It becomes something that you can keep getting sucked into if you're not aware. Like this month has been like a massive breakthrough month for me, and then boom, it it gets triggered again at a new level. And then there's like, oh, this is a familiar friend. Let's go. And like, now I know what it is. And so it doesn't hit, like, I'm not in it. I don't identify it with it the way that I used to, but those feelings still come up. But the core, to answer your question directly, like the core has been the spiritual side, which to me means realizing that the notion that I'm separate from life or from God, and that I'm here and I have to figure things out on my own, that's a lie, that's an illusion. And like resting into the knowing that I'm held, that I'm one with everything. I saw, there's an old TED talk from 12 years ago where they, for the first time, they were able to film or have images of how a fetus or a human is made from the first cell, from the egg is impregnated by the sperm cell, and then starts dividing, and then, over the 9 months becomes a fully born human, that like a human that gets born. And it's remarkable to see, like, it's just magic. If you go watch that clip, it's like a 3-minute thing, the video of it. And it's just totally like awe-inspiring. And then it's like we get born, we grow up, and we think that intelligence that made us is no longer there, that it left us, and now we're on our own to fight for our survival, right? That's kind of the mindset that we fall into, which is a lie.
It's a powerful thought to kind of like, I guess, bring you through those tough moments, I guess, for all of us.
Yeah.
If we rewind, I know you brought up for a second, and I kind of want to go back there, but we're walking through that road of kind of where you were about with your mom, kind of doing the coding and that kind of stuff. Did she ever like build a business that like you were able to help out with, or what happened with her?
Yeah, she totally did. Yeah, she built a software company. It was kind of like a Microsoft Office, but before Windows. So it was for DOS. And I'm from Denmark. So it was in Denmark, and I think they were in like 8 markets, mainly Europe. And team of 50 people or something, and like owned a third of the market in Denmark. So like quite remarkable. And I spent a fair bit of time, like I hung out around the software engineers that she had working there. She was a software programmer, but she wasn't the programmer in that business. She met with a guy who they partnered with, and he built the software and built that team. And yeah, I never coded on the thing itself, but I coded in it and around it on certain things as a kid. And I was like hung around, and I was super inspired by all of it.
Was there ever an option for you to stay with that company and kind of have a steady paycheck, kind of build that company compared to actually building your own thing, or was that never really an option?
Yeah, it was something that we discussed, and my parents were asking if, I would want to take it over, or potentially my brother. And but by the time I was still in high school, I was 17, 18 or something when my mom decided to sell the company. So by that time I was out of it. By that time Windows had arrived, and so having the best software for DOS is not really going to do much for you. And Microsoft was really conquering the market with Microsoft Office, and it was very, very hard to compete with. And so my parents at the same time had moved from the part of the country where the company was to a different part of the country, because my dad had another business that was much bigger. And so they'd hired a CEO, and that didn't work super well. And my mom really wanted to get back to painting, which was her first passion, which she actually does now. And so, yeah, they ended up selling it. And so it wasn't an option for me to take it over, which I don't mind.
Do you ever think about if things would have been a little different, where you would have taken over, you would have had your own journey? How things would be different, or is that never really crossed your mind too much?
No, it's not something I think about. No. I did have ideas about what to do, because they did do a Windows product, but it was like it became sort of like a high level development platform for others to build custom software on top of. And as far as I know, the company still exists and is doing that. But my idea around that time, I went to college studying computer science, and then I ended up moving to the US, to New York around that time, and or some years later, and got really heavily into open source software and saw the potential there. And I was like, maybe that could have been a path to open source some of the stuff as a platform for others to build on, et cetera. But no, I think everything played out the way it beautifully.
And I mean, I'm asking this question because I don't think we've had too many people that have had successful parents that have started their own businesses and then kids starting their own businesses. I mean, so how much do you think that idea that if you're not successful by the age of 30 or billionaire, millionaire, whatever that was playing a factor because your parents were so successful?
I think it was definitely part of it, but it was more because my parents didn't feel that successful, even though they were by like any ordinary measure, but they were always looking to others and like, oh, they're doing so much better. So that was part of the pattern that I inherited. Like I had an uncle who was very like way more like financially successful than either of my parents with their businesses. And so they would always look to him. And we had some neighbors like a few streets over that were my parents actually, that also started a software company that my parents actually had a partnership with at some point. And they ended up selling to Microsoft for, I don't know, hundreds of millions of dollars, and, made a lot of money. And my parents were, so close with these people and like around the same time. And they're like, damn it, like if only we had, but like totally different businesses. They were accounting software, which is a very different kind of business than the office software space, and lots of reasons. And then funny enough, like one of those their two brothers, they became very well known in Denmark after Damgaard is their name. And one of them died of cancer not that long after. And the other guy ended up, getting divorced and blowing all his money on hookers and failed like investment schemes, and actually marrying one of those hookers. And like, there's like a whole reality TV show about him. And like within too very long, he was bankrupt. So, yeah.
So that's a lot of soaking right there.
Right. It kind of is like that old Chinese story of an old man who gets gifted a horse, and his neighbor's like, oh my God, you're so lucky. And then his son rides the horse and he falls down and he breaks his leg. And the neighbors are like, oh my God, poor you. And then, war happens and all the young men have to fight. And then because he broke his leg, he doesn't have to go. And everybody's like, oh, you're so lucky. And like no matter if it's like lucky or poor you, or like who knows how it's all going to turn out.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's that proverb is, I said it. So I think I've said it actually a handful of times on actually this podcast. So that's a great one. I think. All right. So we're going back to your journey. Where do you see, if we were talking in 5 years from now, where do you see your business? Where do you see with the coaching, with your platforms, changing AI? I mean, AI is a popular topic. I mean, anything?
Yeah. I think my contribution really is to, I have this mind that just absorbs information from all over, and then like figures out how it all fits together, and then distills it down to its core essence. So I'm doing that. Like Simplero is basically a product of that. Like, what are all the things that you need to run this kind of business? Let's distill it down to its essence and build it into one coherent, integrated framework, system, software platform that you can use. And I'm doing that with marketing, like strategy stuff, like how to think about marketing, and business, like how to, build a team and manage a team and run a team, um, with all the spiritual growth journey, inner growth, like mindset, all of that stuff, and health as well, which is a huge passion of mine. How do we create health naturally from the inside, not having like needing to use drugs or other symptom treating treatments, but actually, getting to the root cause is kind of the through line in everything, right? Because that's how we make it simple. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm putting together this blueprint. I call it Simplero OS, the operating system for marketing, for business, for life, all of that stuff. And it was kind of born it's something that it's kind of how my mind has always worked, but I started to really double down on it after I hired, so I made a failed attempt to hire some marketing people, or not. I hired a couple of marketing people last year, and none of them are with me still. And what I noticed was that, these were people who had lots of experience, lots of success, but somehow like they came in and they didn't, and I take responsibility for this in terms of my hiring and my leadership and all that stuff. And so I'm not blaming them at all. But what I noticed was the pattern of coming in and just starting doing stuff. And then afterwards I was like, okay, well, and it obviously it didn't work at all. And I was like, like what would someone want? Like, what would I do if I got into a software project, which is one of my, deep expertises, right? Like how would I approach it? And I would think, okay, we got to ask some basic questions. It basically comes down to first principles thinking, right? What is marketing? Like where do you start when you come into a company? So my company is one where we've grown to where we're at like 5 million revenue, with no marketing team, no ads, no nothing. Like it's just great product, word of mouth, great product, great customer service, and then word of mouth. And so coming into a situation like that, like how do you start? And I realized that none of them applied a systematic first principles thinking to address that problem. And I was like, oh, like let me figure out what that looks like. And so that's what I've started putting together.
So basically, how to find each person's tribe, I guess. Are you teaching them how to find the tribe, or also teaching them how to like talk to that tribe once they find them?
Yeah, all of it, right? Like what is marketing? Let's start there, right? Yeah. What is it? How do you, like, you have something that is delivering value to certain people. How do you go from there? Well, okay, got to figure out who it's really for. Okay, how do we do that? Okay, like, and what characteristics, right? One of the things that people in marketing love are these personas, right? It's, Vinny is a like 38-year-old entrepreneur with like, 2 kids and lives in a house and whatever. And like, I'm like, that's awesome. How does that help me? Is that like how, and assuming it does, how do I come up with that stuff? Like, do I just make it up, or like, so there's so many things where there are assumptions that I'm like, well, why? What is it? What do we really need?
Being that you incorporate coaching and you have your system in place, I mean, are you saying that this is a kind of will be, I guess, a one-stop shop for every coach? So let's say I have a good idea, or I feel like I basically can teach someone, or I've walked this road, right? And I'm going to reach out to you, Calvin. I go, okay, I got nothing. I don't even even know when I'm going to start. Coach me. Let's do it. How long is it going to take me to kind of get going? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, typically people come to us when they have some experience. They've done some coaching before. They've built something up a little bit. But yeah, that would kind of be the idea. Yeah. And how long it's going to take is really dependent on you, because what I found over and over and over again is that you are the limiting factor in your business, right? I can teach you what to do. The what to do is not complicated. It's not hard. It's the getting to do it and doing it in a way that works, right? Like you can't just like if it was easy, if it was like, oh, just do these things and it's going to work, and everybody could just do those things and it would work, then everybody would do it. No, there's a,
well, every time it becomes easier, the bar gets higher and higher, right? Because like you said, everyone can do it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it really, like, I mean, things like your confidence or your belief in yourself is really, really crucial, right? A lot of us, and like I've spent a lot of times being very confused in my head about a lot of things. That's why I'm passionate about this journey. I'm like, oh, okay, I was confused about this. Now there's more clarity. Let's keep moving towards more clarity, more. It's all these. All right, so let me put it this way. There, at the core, we are just pure awareness, pure consciousness, right? There's that awareness, that is witnesses, our thoughts, our feelings, everything that we experience. That's the truth of who we really are, the absolute life, love, whatever you want to call that. That is mostly overshadowed by, our belief in separation in, a 3D world, all that stuff in time. At the core of that are some. Let me then move to the practical level. So we want results, right? A coach delivers results. A business owner, we want to build a business. We want to make money. As a coach, we want to deliver results for our people, for our customers, our clients. Where do results come from? Results come from actions, right? We take certain actions and then the results happen. Now, what determines our actions is our thoughts and our feelings. And so now we get into, where do they come from? What shapes them? And like most coaching is about the actions, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you'll get this result, but people still don't do it, right? Like, losing weight, eat less, move more. It's not that complicated, but people aren't doing it. Why? Thoughts and feelings. So now maybe we talk mindset and we talk some feelings and stuff, and that's awesome. That's a great step up, but there's a deeper level, which are these core beliefs. Like I mentioned before, like I'm worthless. I'm nothing. I'm wrong. I'm broken. I'm not enough. I don't have enough. I'm not safe. I'm not wanted. Like, and those contexts or filters, we are someone that we absorb like when we're very, very young. Like maybe they happen actually before we're born or in the first few years, and they shape our world, but they're like we only start to think like in an adult way, like up until the age of 7, we're still in this like magic thinking kind of world. We don't really think. It's feeling first. And so all of this is all of that. And so it's like you're wearing purple colored glasses. It's not that the world looks purple, right? Because it's the only thing you've ever seen. And so you don't even know that they're there. And so oftentimes like it's that like hierarchy, like we can, if the actions do it, awesome, great. But then if not, which usually they don't, we have to go and look at those places. And that's what I do. Because if we can unlock one of those and create a new reality, that's what where I talk about you like helping people get out of the prison of those beliefs and get to freedom. And now everything else that's downstream from that becomes way simpler.
So let's say if I like go back to that kind of idea, right? That I have this plan that I want to be a coach. I have something that I really want to get out there, but I'm in a 9-to-5 job right now. Mm-hmm. Right. So I would, in this scenario, right, would look to pay you as a coach to kind of build a game plan before I even get the system, right? Mm-hmm. So I can actually make sure that I feel good enough, I have the mindset enough, everything like that before I actually jump in that. So is that kind of like the best way of kind of putting it before I actually jump fully in?
Yeah, the coaching with me is we have right now it's a $8,000 investment to join my coaching offer. So depending on where you're at and where your investment confidence is, it would be start with the free stuff, right? Start with the software and there's like a walkthrough of the steps and all the all the how-to is there to get you going. And then including some of the core mindset stuff that's just included with the software for free. Then we don't have right now, but we're working on a lower ticket, lower priced coaching offer that would go a step deeper. And then if you want to go like all the way, like that's the we call that Simplero Academy. That's kind of our main coaching offer for people who are like, yeah, I want to do this, and I'm committed to not just my business growth, but also my own growth.
That's great. Yeah. So for everyone listening, and thank you, Calvin, for being here. For everyone listening, I mean, what's the best way of them going to the website, getting more information for the coaching? I mean, even checking, like you said, the free platform for them to like play around with.
Yeah. The software is simplero.com, simplero.com. And for me, yeah, the best way to reach me is actually go to my Instagram, Calvin Correli, just my name, and then follow me there, and then DM me. I have a video that I did recently for that core framework of the how-to of building a coaching business that will scale to 10,000 a month and beyond. But like the course to get you to the $10,000 a month point, which is, you know, life-changing, right? You can quit your job and you can totally dedicate yourself to your coaching. So that's pretty fantastic. Yeah. So if you DM me 10K, I will send that to you. And then, yeah, just let me know that you found me on the Road to Growth podcast, and let me know what stood out. Love to hear from you.
Sounds great. I'm going to finish out just one last question, Calvin, and everyone, please go in the show notes, go find Calvin and Simplero. There's always like a balancing act, right? For entrepreneurs I've had on the platform, they either just make the jump and don't really look at kind of what they need to do, and they just do it. Other people, they have usually a certain amount of money saved, and they go, okay, once I get to this number, then I quit my 9-to-5 job and jump into it. I mean, what are your thoughts on kind of making the jump, having money saved? I mean, what if you do have to have money saved? Is there like a ballpark that would probably be best to kind of get you there? I mean, any thoughts?
What's worked for me, honestly, has always been just take the plunge. I think the way I'm wired, this is not advice, but the way I'm wired is, you know, when I am going to jump into something that I'm scared of, which, you know, jumping out into a coaching business is scary. It was scary for me. And so I kind of need to have no other option available to me. So when I started my business, I was doing coding for hire at the same time, freelancing. And because I'd shut down my consulting firm, so it was just me doing some freelance work. And I noticed that I kept like focusing on that and making excuses for why I needed to focus on that. And because I had this like, oh, I need to get to a certain amount of money, then I would like do something shitty to like lose some money so I could keep working for the money and build that up. Like it was all psychology. And so finally one day I just put a line in the sand, metaphorically speaking, and said, I'm not going to sell another hour of coaching. I'm going to figure this thing out. And I ended up actually borrowing money from my mom to do that, because then like the revenue didn't show up, and like, but I was just stuck with it, and I paid everything back, and it worked out. But that was, yeah, it really shocked me. That was my first realization of how scared I was of this. And I didn't think of it as fear. I just thought of it as perfectionism, and what if it's not good enough, and like I need to get this better, and let me noodle on this, and yada yada yada. But it was just fucking fear. I was just scared of putting myself out there and getting negative feedback or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's for a lot of people out there, right? I mean, that's why I think it's so much easier going away from that pain, right? A pain of probably losing the money that your mom let you borrow, right? The pain of basically going back to that 9-to-5 job, going back to, I mean, 20 years from now saying, oh, man, what if, right? So yeah, you need something out there. Thank you, Calvin, for being here. And I just noticed it too. we both had 4 or clover hats. You have 4 leaf. I only have a 3 leaf. So
oh yeah, nice.
this is random. I was like,
Yeah.
Thank you
Clover
guys for listening. Please go in the show notes. Go find Calvin. Please subscribe. Please share. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye, everyone.